The chandeliers sparkle like falling stars, each crystal catching the light just right. Gold trimmed walls, floor polished like mirrors, and a long crimson aisle that led to your fate. You never imagined your wedding day would feel like a boardroom negotiation, yet there you stood, at the altar of Seoul's most prestigious hotel ballroom, your hand in John Jungkook's. The cameras clicked like clockwork, guests smiled politely, their words honeyed but hollow. Jungkook looked emotionless, almost sculpted from marble. No soft glances, no warm smile, just a rigid nod to the officiant and a perfectly timed I do. The words felt like an echo lost in the grand room. When it was your turn, you hesitated for half a second. His eyes finally met yours, not curious, not tender, just dead. You swallowed the chill rising in your throat and spoke quietly. I do. You sat beside him in the back of the limousine, your wedding dress folded carefully around your knees. The silence stretched painfully. He stared out the window, the city lights casting flicker over his sharp profile. So, you finally said, your voice cutting through the quiet, is this where you thank me for saving your empire? He turned to you, brows raising slightly. You think you saved me? I think you needed a wife. You said, looking straight ahead, and I was convenient. He didn't deny it. Instant, he leaned back against the leather seat, eyes heavy with exhaustion. We both knew what this was. You turned to look at him. Is it always going to be this cold between us? He exhaled slowly. It's better this way. For who? You asked, looking at him, but he didn't answer. The John family penthouse was perched above the city like a crown, floor to ceiling windows, sculptures in every corner, not a single sign of warmth. I had your room prepared, Jungkook said, stepping out of his shoes at the door. It's across the hall. Across the hall? You repeated, lovely. He gave you a brief glance, then started walking down the corridor. John Jungkook, you called, making him pause. You took a slow step forward. I'm not asking for love or passion or even friendship. There was a drop dead silence. But if we are going to live under the same roof, at least treat me like I exist. He didn't turn around, just said quietly, my last wife died in this house. Your breath caught. I see her everywhere. He continued, voice low and almost broken. In the mirror, in the silence, in every corner. He turned his head slightly, just enough that you could see his profile. So don't ask me for warmth. I don't have it to give. Then he disappeared into the shadows of the corridor. You stood there alone in your wedding gown, and for the first time since agreeing to this marriage, your heart truly ached, not for yourself but for him. The mornings in the John penthouse were eerily quiet, no staff bustling around, no hum of a kettle, just silence that wrapped itself around the house like fog. You woke up early, the unfamiliar silk sheets cool against your skin. You sat up and looked around your room, elegant, tasteful, and untouched by any personal charm. It felt like a hotel suite, not a home. The moment your feet touched the floor, you heard it, soft piano keys echoing faintly through the hall. You followed the sound barefoot, the long corridor swallowing your steps. As you approached the music room, the melody stopped. You peeked inside. Jungkook was sitting there, alone in front of the piano, his back to you. His fingers hovered above the keys, frozen mid-air. You didn't speak, neither did he. After a moment, he slowly shut the lid of the piano like tucking away a memory. Then he got up, walked past you and left without a word. You came in the dining room and ate alone at the long dining table, only one setting. The other end remained untouched. The housekeeper, Mrs. Lee, finally spoke. He never eats breakfast with anyone. You glanced up at her. Did he eat with her? Her expression faltered. Only her. You pushed your spoon into your porridge, losing your appetite. After breakfast, Jungkook left as always. There was no real conversation happening between you both, and you were like a ghost in the house. You didn't mean to go snooping. The house was just so silent it echoed your thoughts. You had wandered aimlessly past a hallway that looked more like a museum than a home, past faceless portraits, doors that wouldn't open, then one did. The studio was filled with the smell of turpentine and memory. The painting caught your attention first. She was beautiful, the woman on the canvas. Soft brown eyes, a patient kind of smile. She looked like she would have made the sun rise if she could. But the box labeled Hyon made it worse. You opened it. You shouldn't have, but you did. The letter inside was delicate, like it might vanish if you breathed too hard. If you're reading this, it means I'm no longer beside you. And I know you'll blame yourself even though you shouldn't, Jungkook. I was never afraid of dying. I was only afraid of forgetting how to live. You closed it with trembling fingers. For the first time since the wedding, your heart didn't feel cold. It felt crushed. You were never meant to compete with a ghost, and yet here you were living in her house, sharing her last name, and standing in the outline she left behind. Later in the evening, you were invited for dinner. It was the kind of gathering that only powerful Korean chaebol families could host. Elegant and judgmental, dressed in designer silk and layered with fake kindness, you sat among them like perfectly carved mannequin. But then, the talk was all about you. So, Mrs. John, Madame Huang asked, her voice laced with politeness that cut like wire. How does it feel to walk in the late Mrs. John's footsteps? Your fingers tighten around the crystal glass, but still you smile faintly. I don't believe in walking in someone else's footsteps. I plan to make my own. A murmur passed through the table like static. Bold, another woman quipped. Jungkook, she always did have a taste for unusual women. You forced a smile. Your palms were bleeding slightly where your nails had bitten skin. The double door slammed shut behind you, the loud sound echoing through the big empty hallway. You stood still for a second, angry and hurt, your fingers gripping your clutch so hard that the metal part pressed into your skin. Then you let it drop. It hit the cold floor with a small clink. You walked down the hallway barefoot. You had kicked off your heels somewhere between the elevator and the front door. The lights from the chandelier above sparkled on the shiny floor, but everything felt fake and too perfect. This place didn't feel like a home, it felt like a gold glass cage. She's brave walking in Hyan's shoes. He must still dream of his wife. A temporary fill-in, poor girl doesn't know what she signed up for. And then you saw him, John Jungkook. He had just come back from his trip. He was standing near the bar, pouring himself a drink. He looked relaxed in his black shirt, the tie loose around his neck. He looked up when he saw you, not realizing that a storm was about to hit him. You are home early. I thought the dinner. Oh, the dinner was divine. You cut in, voice brittle with venom. I was honored, truly, to be the guest of honor at a table of venomous vipers. He furrowed his brows. What happened? You let out a dry laugh. You mean besides being called a second wife in 1,000 different poetic metaphors? Beside Madame Huang comparing me to your dead wife like I'm some stand-in actress in a tragedy they didn't even audition me for. His jaw flexed, but he said nothing. That silence, that did it. You snapped. Say something, you shouted, stepping closer. God, do you ever say anything when they drag me through the mud? When they make me feel like some shameful knockoff of your perfect past? His eyes darkened. I told you this wouldn't be easy. Oh, I knew it wouldn't be easy, Jungkook. I just didn't think I would be buried alive under the weight of someone else's memory. Your voice echoed against the high ceiling. You turned away, pressing a hand to your chest, trying to steady the rage before it choked you. They all look at me like I don't belong, like I snuck into a painting of a life that was already complete before I arrived. You paused. And you? You just stand there, always so damn silent, like I'm some contract you regret signing. That made him move. I told you everything from the start. I told you I wasn't looking for love, that I wasn't ready to let high on go. You looked at him, and for the first time, your eyes were cold too. Yes, yes, you told me. You laid out the terms like a CEO. Signing a deal, no feelings, no expectations, just an arrangement. He stared, startled by her words. But did I have a choice, Jungkook? Did I ever have a freaking choice? I'm the daughter of a rich family, born with a silver spoon shoved so deep down my throat I forgot how to breathe on my own. From the moment I turned 18, I stopped being a person. I became a pawn in my father's empire, a name on a guest list. A girl in a gown, trained to smile just wide enough to not show the panic in her throat. Do you know what it's like to be born into a family where your worth is determined by how useful your marriage can be? To have your first crush, your first heartbreak, your dreams all dismissed because none of them serve the empire your father built. You stepped closer now, fury trembling beneath your skin. I didn't marry you because I thought we would fall in love under the cherry blossom. I married you because my parents handed me over like a chess piece, a strategic move. You were grieving and I was convenient. Jungkook swallowed, his eyes were fixed on you, but you weren't finished. And I accepted it, Jungkook. I say yes because I had no other choice. Because being born into a wealth as a woman means you never get to want. You just get chosen. You took another step forward, your voice started cracking. You think this is your grief? That you are the only one who lost something? Now you were trembling, but you didn't care. For the first time, you were saying it all. I lost myself. I lost every damn chance at living my own life, at choosing love, at chasing something real, and then I walk into your house and get treated like some shameful secret, like a placeholder for someone whose memory is too scared to erase. Tears welled in your eyes, but you refused to let them fall. And I swallowed it, Jungkook. Every look, every silence, every dinner where you never looked at me. Every night where the only sound was the ticking clock while I lay awake next to a stranger in my own bed. He took a step towards you, jaw clenched. You knew. Yes, I knew. You shouted, because I'm stupid, because I was born into this cursed golden cage and taught to wear suffering like a courtier. Silence fell heavy, devastating. Your voice dropped to a whisper. All my life I've been traded, controlled, hidden. I thought maybe here, maybe with you I could at least exist without being consumed. But even here, I'm just someone living in another woman's shadow. Jungkook looked shaken, for the first time, really shaken. He opened his mouth, but you held up a hand. Don't, you said. Don't explain. Don't justify. I have spent my whole life being groomed to be someone else's pride, but here, in this cold museum of a marriage, I'm not even a person. I'm a placeholder for your sorrow. I'm tired, tired of being a duty, a legacy, a shadow. You took off your wedding ring and placed it on the marble counter beside his untouched drink. I want a divorce. His body tensed. He opened his mouth, but you held up a hand. Don't. If you won't fight for me, at least don't fight me when I try to save what's left of me. You walked away, your footsteps calm now, not because the storm had passed, but because it had consumed everything and left behind truth. I won't beg to be loved, not by you, not by anyone. The doors to your bedroom shut with a soft click, and for the first time since you entered this house, you allowed yourself to breathe. Jungkook stood there frozen, the sound of your heels, the ring, your voice, it echoed in his ears like distant thunder, long after the silence took over. He looked down at the ring, the one you had worn with dignity despite everything, despite him. He had told himself 1,000 times this was just a marriage of convenience, a business merger. He had warned you, told you he would never love again, but then why did that sentence, I want a divorce, feel like something inside him had shattered? He picked up the ring slowly, curling his fingers around the cool band of gold, and for the first time since Hyun died, John Jungkook felt something real and painful. Not grief for the past, but fear for the present. You woke up to find the apartment empty, his usual glass of whiskey still untouched on the table, his keys gone. You told yourself it didn't matter, but you still checked your phone every now and then. No texts, no calls, just silence until late that evening there was a knock on your door. You opened it to find his secretary Meena standing stiffly with a plain envelope in her hand. Mr. John asked me to deliver this. She said, no expression, no small talk. You opened it only after she left. Inside was a single line, handwritten. You deserve someone who doesn't need time to choose you, but I'm asking for it anyways. 3 months, no promises, just honesty. Your fingers tightened around the paper. You weren't sure if this was love, but it was the first time he hadn't hidden behind coldness or grief. He wasn't making excuses, he was asking for a chance. Not to fix the marriage, not yet, but to understand you, to try. For the first time, maybe for real. 3 days passed and you hadn't replied to his note, but you hadn't rejected it either. So the silence between you both shifted from anger to something else, something more uncertain, like standing at the edge of a cliff, waiting to see if he would jump or walk away. You weren't talking to him and he didn't force either. And then one evening, Meena knocked on your bedroom door. Mr. John asked if you would have dinner with him. Just dinner, no expectations. You didn't ask where, you didn't ask why. The long crystal chandelier sparkled above a table set for two, not 20, not a corporate event, just a man and a woman sitting across from each other like they weren't strangers, but weren't quite anything else either. Jungkook looked up as you entered. He stood up. Just a small movement like he still remembered how to be human. You took your seat without a word. He poured the wine himself, white, crisp, your favorite. You hadn't expected him to remember. Neither of you touched the food at first. Thank you for not returning the ring by courier. His voice was quiet, stripped of sarcasm. I know, I've made it hard for you to stay. You didn't say anything. He went on, when I lost Hyun, I didn't just lose her. I lost the parts of me that knew how to try again. You stared at your glass, and yet you still said yes to marrying someone else. His jaw tightened. It was supposed to be convenient, strategic. You know that. You looked up at him finally. Strategic for who, Jungkook? Your family? Mine? The investors? Because it was never from me. There was silence for a short time before you took a deep breath. I was never asking for your love. I was asking for respect, for effort, for acknowledgement that I exist in this house as more than just a placeholder. The words hung between you both. Jungkook finally spoke what was weighing heavy in his heart. I want to try. Your eyes flicked to his. Why now? He hesitated. Because that night, when you took off your ring, I didn't feel angry. I felt afraid. I have been through grief, Ryan, but I've never experienced regret like that. He leaned forward slightly. 3 months. Let's call it a deal. If you want, no pressure to forgive, no pressure to fall in love. He swallowed. But I will show you who I am, and I'll see who you are too. Not just the girl in a designer dress or the heiress our parents paraded around boardrooms. You stared at him, the ache in your chest slowly untwisting. And if after 3 months nothing changes, he gave you a small nod. Then I'll let you go. No fights, no headlines, just freedom. You finally reached for your fork. Fine, 3 months, but don't expect me to go easy on you. And for the first time since your wedding, he smiled, just a little. I wouldn't dare.